So we have another UFC fighter who's in trouble with the law. This time it's with Mr. On Paper, Anthony Smith himself. I don't know why Darren Tills is on here, but okay. So we have some really serious charges here. And honestly, this is probably this is way worse than the whole Dustin Poirier situation. At least with Dustin Poirier's situation, like, yeah, it was bad, but you could look back on it and just laugh. But with this is no laughing matter. You can't joke around with this. So let's read this. So Anthony Smith arrest details. So we're gonna read this. Former UFC fighter Anthony Smith is facing 3 felony charges after an arrest made Monday night in Nebraska. The 38-year-old was arrested on domestic violence charges and held in custody until Wednesday, when he appeared before a judge and was released on a $500,000 bond. MMA Junkie also reported Wednesday that Smith is accused of threatening to kill his wife and attempting to run her over with a vehicle. Yikes. Smith challenged for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship in 2019 and last fought on the UFC card in 2025 when he lost to Zhang Mingyang in his retirement fight. Here's what we know about Smith's arrest. Anthony Smith's arrest details. Smith was arrested Monday night in Nebraska on charges of domestic violence causing serious bodily injury, false imprisonment, and terroristic threats. His release reportedly came with the condition that he can't have contact with his wife, Michaela. Smith also can't leave Nebraska without permission and must stay out of other legal trouble if he wants to remain out of custody. On Wednesday, MMA Junkie reported that in a statement, the Sarpy County Attorney's Office said Smith is accused of threatening to kill his wife if she did not go home with him following an altercation at a bar. Afterward, he allegedly grabbed her and pushed her into the vehicle. And investigators also conclude that Smith tried multiple times to hit his wife with the vehicle when she escaped during the drive. According to the outlets, Smith's wife avoided physical harm after moving out of the way, and Smith later turned himself into police after a warrant was issued. This is Smith's first reported run-in with the law. He found himself on the other side of the coin in 2020 when he said he fought off a home invader in a bizarre incident. Now, here are the charges. Smith is facing 3 felony charges: domestic violence causing serious bodily injury, false imprisonment, terroristic threats, and Smith could face up to 26 years in prison if convicted. According to TMZ, though maximum sentences are extremely rare. So Smith has a 39-22 career record as an MMA fighter. He made his UFC debut in 2013, but didn't become a UFC regular until 2017. Smith challenged John Jones for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship in 2019, losing by unanimous decision in Las Vegas, but he went on to win 4 of his next 6 fights. Yeah, and then he went on a losing streak after. Earlier in 2026, Smith made his heavyweight debut with a win over Chase Sherman in the Dominican Republic. It was Smith's first non-UFC fight since 2016 as he retired on a loss to Zhang Mingyang in 2025. I didn't even know that happened. See, this is how much no one cares about Smith's situation. But oh boy, so Anthony Smith's rep gives his first comments following this whole situation. So Anthony Smith's manager, Brian Butler of Sucker Punch Entertainment, on Friday issued the first comments from the UFC veterans team following Smith's arrest in Nebraska. Smith was arrested Monday and booked into Sarpy County Jail on 3 potential felony charges for terroristic threats, first-degree false imprisonment, first-degree domestic assault. We already know this. In an exclusive statement given to Uncrowned, Butler addressed the allegations. We are aware of the reports concerning Anthony Smith's recent arrest. At this time, it would be inappropriate to comment on the allegations or speculate regarding facts that have yet to be fully established. Like every individual, Anthony is entitled to the presumption of innocence and the due process protections afforded under our justice system. We respectfully ask that people avoid rushing to judgment based solely on initial reports, as they often do not reflect the complete facts or context. Our thoughts are with Anthony and his family as they navigate this difficult and deeply personal matter. We ask their privacy be respected while the legal process runs its course. Out of respect for the ongoing proceedings, we will have no further comment at this time. Smith, 38, was released from custody Wednesday after posting a $500,000 bond. The one time one time is correct. UFC title challenger and longtime UFC broadcast analyst is barred from making any contact with his wife as a condition of his bond and is prohibited from leaving Nebraska without a judge's permission. He is due back in court on August 17th. In a statement issued Wednesday, the Sarpy County District Attorney's Office alleged that Smith was involved in an altercation with his wife at a bar in Gretna, Nebraska, during which he reportedly threatened to kill her if she did not get into his vehicle, and go home with him. Authorities further claim Smith forced his wife into the vehicle and then attempted multiple times to use the vehicle to strike her after she escaped during the drive. Smith's wife ultimately avoided any physical harm, and Smith turned himself into police without incident following the issuing of a warrant. The combined weight of Smith's three charges, if convicted, carries a potential sentence of more than 20 years in prison. Smith, 39-22, retired from UFC competition in 2025 following a 9-year, 24-fight run with the company that saw him unsuccessfully challenge Jon Jones for the UFC Light Heavyweight title in 2019. He doubled as a television analyst on UFC broadcasts for the final years of his fighting career and has continued broadcasting in his retirement. Smith returned to broader combat sports competition in April with a first-round submission of Chase Sherman in a bare-knuckle MMA bout as part of Gamebreds FC ongoing $500,000 heavyweight tournament. Again, had no idea this even happened. Jeez, man. All right, so yeah, that's not a good look. That's really not a good look. And really, I'm not going to speak too much on it. I mean, look, this is not a laughing matter. I could make a whole he attacked my family jokes as I want. But the truth is, this is a really, really ugly situation to be in. It's not a good look at all. And the thing with Anthony Smith is with people like Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, guys like those who have a history with, getting in trouble with the law and allegations and just the amount of cases they have against them, and the fact that the UFC, it has made it really hard for the UFC to defend them. But despite all that, despite giving the UFC headaches, they still are lenient as hell with them because they're the company boys. They're the golden boys. They're people that the UFC doesn't want to lose connection with, right? They just get a slap on the wrist and just and by slap on the wrist, I mean Dana White just condemning, their actions, and that's it, right? They don't get kicked out of the UFC. None of that. No, that's not how it works with them. But with Anthony Smith, he's none of them. He's not Jon Jones. He's not Conor McGregor. He's not even on the same par as them at all. So Anthony Smith, the fact that Anthony Smith had these type of allegations against him, these charges against him, the UFC is not gonna care, honestly. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he loses his job over this. This is Anthony Smith has really does not have a say when it comes to keeping his his job with UFC broadcast analyst. The UFC's not gonna give a damn. They're not. With people with Conor and Jones, they're gonna just give out a statement and that's it. But with Anthony Smith doesn't have that same privilege as Jon Jones or Conor McGregor. So this is not a good look at all. This is definitely gonna be a humongous, like stain on Anthony Smith going forward, and when it comes to him being in, broadcasting, analyzing, like this is not going to stick up well for the UFC, really. And I won't be surprised if he gets fired, if he loses his position. But because again, like the UFC, like let's be like again, no one really genuinely cares about Anthony Smith like that. Like, yeah, he's a UFC veteran, but like when unless your name is Conor McGregor or John Jones, they're not gonna care about you. Like, look how they just tossed away freaking we don't know how they tossed away people like Cerrone and Aldo. Like, like, yeah, like goodbye. I mean, then again, they did give Anthony Smith that whole like farewell thing, which is kind of weird because he's never, whatever. But usually I would make fun of Anthony Smith. I mean, who doesn't? But in this situation, this is not a laughing matter. I can't even like, I can't even fathom like just how serious this is and just how much this is like career altering. And again, Anthony Smith, he doesn't have the cards. He like I said, he doesn't have the status, that star status that the McGregors and the Jones have. He just doesn't. So if if the UFC like punishes him, I won't be surprised. If they don't punish him, like what the hell, I mean, look, I mean, I get why they wouldn't do it with Jones and McGregor, but Anthony Smith, dude, like with how like, I mean, this is bad. This is really bad. But again, like he can't really get away with it. He just can't. So yeah, that's the whole situation. This is just a really like awful look right here. Like, wow, I can't even like. I want to make. I'm trying to not make jokes because, I mean, it is kind of like this is like out of nowhere, but this is really serious. I don't know how on earth, like, why on earth you would do this, but I mean, I guess it's like one of those cases again where it's like, the fighters miss, their career. Like with the same thing with the Dustin Poirier situation. They just like can't live without fighting, and if they leave, they don't. There's no fulfillment in life for them. So it might be that same situation with Anthony Smith, but geez, man, this is like this is far different from the Poirier situation. Because, like I said, we could laugh at the Dustin situation, and at least for the most part we can. Even though for Dustin it is it's pretty bad, but in this situation, like you just can't laugh because the guy legit tried to like allegedly try to kill his wife. This is not a good look, and and I guarantee you it's like one of those situations where the fighter just can't move on from his from the life he used to have, which is fighting MMA. Like it's not that easy to move on from this if that's all you live for, then and you leave, it's gonna be hard to move on. I think it's the same situation with Anthony. So yeah, terrible situation. I know for a fact this is not gonna be the last time we hear of the whole this case right here. So it sucks, but what can you do?